Hey Brent, my name's Steve. And you know what? We need to talk about some things, okay? The first thing I want to let you know is that nobody here is going to beat you up. Nobody here is going to hurt you. Nobody here is going to do anything like that to you, okay?
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
And that was your warning. And now we can begin. Researching for the channel the other day, I came across a doco, which I thought, this one here my subscribers probably find quite interesting. And what makes it interesting is that it looks at a major crime, the big one, murder. And when that crime is committed by a person under the age of 18. And when it comes to murder and youth and the justice system, it raises two questions. Well, it does for this episode anyway. And both of those questions have a lot of components taken into consideration when it comes to the answers to those questions. So what are the questions? Well, the first one is, at what age do we have a cutoff when it comes to youth who commit a homicide under the law? That's the age where we say that an offender is too young to be tried as an adult.
Suspect is 17-year-old Isaiah Ross, and he is being charged as an adult.
Tonight, 17-year-old Marion Richardson is charged as an adult.
17-year-old Josu Cow will be tried as an adult.
It comes after 4 other teens were formally charged as adults in the killing.
Woolbright is 16 years old. Prosecutors gave a number of reasons for charging him as an adult, including his past criminal record, which they say shows he has not been rehabilitated.
The 16-year-old girl arrested in the death of her 7-year-old nephew was charged as an adult.
A 15-year-old accused of killing his classmate. A 10-year-old boy who is accused of kidnapping and murdering a real estate agent was officially arraigned as an adult today.
A 15-year-old now formally charged as an adult.
Going before a judge charged with murder is something usually reserved for adults, but in the case here, the defendant is only 14. 14-year-old Noel Estevez, seen here overnight being taken to central booking, will be tried as an adult for murder and manslaughter.
14-year-old Aiden Fucci is now being charged as an adult.
The Broward State Attorney Harold Pryor and prosecutors are reviewing the evidence and facts before making the decision on whether he'll be charged as an adult.
A 14-year-old boy is accused of murdering his own aunt near Sun Lakes last week. That boy has now officially been charged as an adult.
Prosecutor is charging a 13-year-old boy with murder as an adult.
13-year-old boy accused of stabbing his mother to death is now being charged as an adult.
Tonight, a 13-year-old is now being charged as an adult.
How young is too young for a murder charge? The Florida State Attorney has decided to try a 12-year-old boy as an adult, a 12-year-old for the first-degree murder of his 2-year-old brother.
Less than 6 months ago, he was arrested and charged with murder. Tonight, 12-year-old.
Not only did a man die, but the 3 accused range in age from 12.
Come on, we talking about a kid, a baby, a 12-year-old.
When Jarrell Milton was found, arrested, and brought back to Omaha in July, he was charged as an adult.
He's a 12-year-old. I mean, and he looks like a 12-year-old, and to see him involved in this kind of crime is extremely disturbing.
Authorities in western Pennsylvania have charged 11-year-old Jordan Brown as an adult.
The now 11-year-old boy very much looks his age, despite facing the most serious felony there is, first-degree intentional homicide.
He is just 10 years old, but a Wisconsin boy is being charged as an adult for the death of his mother.
You understand we're in juvenile court, but this is an adult court. As we see, the justice system can charge the age of 10 with being an adult, which is pretty fucking crazy if you ask me. But as most people would say, that it would be a stretch for a 10-year-old to think as an adult when it comes to the act of murder. But then again, it's a stretch for us even to think that a 10-year-old would commit such an offence in the first place. But indeed, they do. Prosecutors will charge who we would call a kid as an adult. And to do that, the circumstances must be quite extreme. As the argument is, can a 10-year-old even comprehend what an adult could? And that is what brings me on to the second question and the second cutoff. And that would be, at what age is the cutoff when it comes to a kid being charged with murder? How low can prosecutors go when it comes to charging a child with murder?
Police say a 10-year-old is in custody for murder.
This is about as young as a person could possibly be to be facing this sort of thing. There are cases of some children that are even younger than 10, but it's really, really rare.
Community activist Miles Mulrain questioning if the girl's age fits the charge.
I honestly don't think a 10-year-old even has like the kind of processing that an adult would have. You know, they don't even have the skills that we have to even think.
This has announced that a 10-year-old has been arrested after they say he killed another 10-year-old.
Defense attorney weighs in on what might happen when a 10-year-old is charged with murder.
10-year-old son have been arrested. The boy has been charged with murder. Trying to prove a child intended to murder someone may be difficult for prosecutors.
A 9-year-old boy locked up after police say he tried to stab his 5-year-old sister to death.
Bedford County State's attorney officially filed charges against a 9-year-old child. These charges come 6 months after the deadly blaze in the Timberland Mobile Park community.
He is the youngest child ever charged with murder in Michigan, a 9-year-old boy accused of killing his adoptive mother.
He at first suggested that Hunter shot her, then told police that his dad did it. The boy is charged with open murder and a felony weapons charge. Under state law, he is presumed incompetent to stand trial for any crime because he's under 10 years old. But records show prosecutors want him treated with the goal of making him competent.
Now, an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old are being charged with involuntary manslaughter.
An 8-year-old boy is being charged with beating a 1-year-old girl to death. It's reported that the child is the youngest person to be charged with murder in Jefferson County, Alabama.
Talk about murder, if you will, because murder involves intent. So did you all believe that the child, that the 8-year-old intended to kill?
Well, we did have some information that the 8-year-old got extremely agitated because the 1-year-old refused to stop crying. And so I guess the 8-year-old took it upon himself and began to commit violent acts against the 1-year-old that the 1-year-old could definitely not defend herself. And so
police in St. John's, Arizona say an 8-year-old boy killed his father and another man in this home.
There is premeditation in this. He's charged with premeditated murder, which means he planned it, carried it out methodically, and he was very skilled in what he did.
Investigators say the child told them when he was 7, he killed a stranger. Police say the boy confessed last week.
I feel like the boy knew exactly what he was doing.
But that's what investigators will have to determine.
In Texas, we assume that children under the age of 10 cannot form criminal intent. A lot of them really don't understand the implications of what they're doing.
So roughly about 8 years old. Man, that is crazy. And it's also crazy how the lower you go in age, the more you come to somewhat of a conclusion that the kid must be a psychopath. That in some cases it does seem that it might be in their nature, but I believe far and few between, because what you seem to find in the research that it is more the nurture element and what has happened to a child at such a young age that they commit an act that we associate to an adult, and how nowadays we see it that a kid's brain hasn't developed intellectually enough for them to form intent to commit the act of murder. But that is not how it always was when it comes to prosecutors charging kids with murder. Back in the day, they didn't look so much at the kid's intellect when it comes to intent, but more towards the child's intelligence when it comes to understanding the court process. So the baseline back in the day wasn't an age, but more towards intelligence. And in this doco, it is the intelligence of a 6-year-old. This is fucking out of it.
Hey, Brandon, my name's Steve. And you know what? We need to talk about some things, okay? The first thing I want to let you know is that nobody here is going to beat you up. Nobody here is going to hurt you. Nobody here is going to do anything like that to you, okay?
Two things here come to mind. The first one would be is that this is a very old VHS tape and it crackles every now and again, so apologies for that. And the second thing is that if you have to say what he just said to the offender that you are saying it to understands that, then perhaps the offender is a little too young to be charged with murder.
You're safe. All we're interested in doing is finding out the truth.
In the spring of 1996, in a juvenile interrogation room, police sat down to question a 6-year-old. They would later charge the boy with the attempted murder of a 1-month-old baby.
Yes or no?
The 6-year-old kicked, punched, and beat the baby with a broomstick. An attempted killer.
There's literally no hope for the baby right now.
Clinging to life.
Everyone involved is stunned.
It was a case that shattered the very idea of childhood. How could someone so young be so violent?
Some neighbors had described the boy as mean and a troublemaker.
Very, very bad. He was the victim of a broken home, allowed to run the streets. He's not an evil child.
And police say showed no remorse for the beating.
He was mean. He sometimes.
Can you show me how you kicked the baby? Show me.
The crime set off a national debate. Should the 6-year-old be treated as a disturbed child or punished like a criminal?
Good morning, I'm Ron Owens, this is KGO.
He should be put away permanently if necessary because he is a danger.
I don't think the kid knew exactly what he was doing. And
You've got to do something with this child. And
This is not an anomaly. This is in some ways a very classic case. We've seen a big downshift in the age at which people are committing murder. And over the past year, I think the statistics would show that there's something like 100 children under the age of 10 who have been charged in some way with murder.
Can you show me how you hit her? Like that 3 times? Okay, so you hit her like that 3 times after you kicked her 2 times. Then what else?
It all happened in Richmond, California, near San Francisco, in a poor neighborhood of blacks and Latinos called the Iron Triangle. It began with a 6-year-old boy who wanted a big wheel, the favorite tricycle in his neighborhood. Late on a hot day, the boy's grandmother let him out to play while he waited for his mother to come home from work. The 6-year-old was soon joined by 8-year-old twin brothers who were being watched by their older sister, Roxanne.
The day that this incident happened, it was my birthday, so I came home from work, which was around 5:30 or something like that, and they was in the house, and it was hot outside, and I told them they can go outside. They was good, normal kids. I mean, I ain't saying they was perfect kids, but they was normal kids.
over here, Ricky.
Down the street, the 3 boys were spotted by a neighbor, Ophelia Stringer.
I was sitting on my porch. It was an average day, you know, everybody sitting outside, kids playing.
Get the ball back.
You know, we were just sitting there. We saw them playing out all day.
Later, outside this apartment building, another neighbor saw one of the boys hiding a big wheel tricycle in a bush. Suspicious, he rushed inside where he discovered a baby, bloody and unconscious. He ran outside and started screaming at the 3 boys.
You know, they ran down here and they were like, I didn't, you know, it wasn't me, laugh. Because, you know, of course you react to a man coming outside yelling at you, and adults are going to ask questions like, what did you do to make a man react like that? And they were just like, I didn't do it, and laughing and joking. And they ran up and down the street. And then when they saw the police, they got scared and they ran in the backyard of the twins' house.
Ignacio Bermudez and his wife had left the baby with their older daughter while they went shopping.
I saw a lot of police by the house, and people were gathered around the house, right? And then I got closer and I asked the children, what happened? Your boy, they said. They hit him. But all my children are here. It's not my child. All my children are here. I never imagined it was my youngest child.
Bermudez rushed to the hospital, where his month-old baby boy was in critical condition with severe head injuries.
A little while later, my wife arrived. She was crying by then, and she tells me, Nacho, she says, they're saying that the boy was hit. They say he was hit really bad with a stick, they say. No, that can't be. That someone would hit a child? A child doesn't do anything, right?
Y yo también voy a verlo y me le arrimo y le digo,
I got near him and I told him, "You're going to get better. You're not going to die. I want you to come home with me." He just blinked his little eyes. I touched his face and his feet, and he shrunk away.
As the baby clung to life, the people of the Iron Triangle gathered to pray for his survival and to wonder how this could have happened. The Richmond police knew exactly who they were looking for. The next day, they picked up the 3 boys.
How you guys doing?
Captain Ray Howard headed the investigation.
We weren't prepared. Nothing had prepared us for anything like this because it never had occurred. We had no idea exactly how we were going to handle this thing. We knew what we had, but how do you handle it when it involves a suspect or suspects this young?
The police videotaped their interrogation of the boys. This is the first time those tapes have been seen. Detective Daryl Jackson started with the 8-year-old twins.
They were giving different stories or minimizing their involvement in the incident itself. One child initially told us that he never went inside. Another stated that they just took the bike and he left. And then one of them put everything off on the other.
So you walked into the bedroom?
Yeah.
Okay, so you did go in the bedroom.
You talk to one kid, you may or may not believe everything he's telling you, but you take it and you set them down off and back with the rest of them, and you bring someone else in. Listen what that person has to say. And you say, well, so-and-so just told me this.
Your brother told us earlier today that you were actually standing in the room with them when all this was happening.
I wasn't in the room.
Your brother said you were.
You can't forget what you're involved in. You're still on a fact-finding mission. And as police officers, you have hearts. Some things you see, you want to break down and cry, but you can't because you have a job to do. And if you don't do your job, it doesn't get done.
And I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not going to talk to you again. Huh? I'm not going to talk to you again. I'm going to give you one chance to tell the truth. And when you walk out that door, that's going to be your last chance.
The twins finally confessed that they were in the apartment, but said it was the 6-year-old who had beaten the baby.
Look at me. Are you telling me the truth or a lie?
The truth.
I don't believe you. I want you to tell me the truth, okay?
He looked like a 6-year-old. He didn't look like and didn't act like a child who could commit this kind of an act. He looked like a kid who I might have taught in a Sunday school class,
How many times you kicked the baby? You kicked the baby around the head 4 times? Did you punch the baby too? How many times did you punch the baby? Huh? About 7 times?
He tried to state that he just thought it was a doll. She didn't believe that it was actually a baby. Whether I believe that or not, I don't know.
Can you show me how you kicked the baby? Show me. Just 2 times?
Mm-hmm.
Show me again. Show me how you did it.
I'm still not convinced that these kids knew the gravity of what they were doing. To this day, I still don't believe they knew how bad this situation was in terms of what they did to that infant and what they did to themselves.
Yes, I would agree with that, eh? Most likely a 6-year-old wouldn't know the gravity of what probably murder, death and forever is, as well as not probably understanding that how much of a severe crime it is and the punishment that would come with it. Of course, they're a 6-year-old. But now we're going to meet the prosecution. Now we're going to meet the person that says, burn him!
This 6-year-old boy invaded basically another person's house and mercilessly beat an infant. And we have a responsibility in the interest of public safety to try to do something about that. And that's what we're trying to do here.
You continue to prosecute this case?
Yes.
The prosecutor, Harold Jewett, decided to charge the 6-year-old with attempted murder.
No. It doesn't matter whether you're 6 or you're 106. If you do something that hurts somebody else with knowledge of the wrongfulness of it, you're responsible for it, period.
Bring your brother inside. Did he do it?
I knew a different kid than I heard about in the news, where he was portrayed as being a sort of a menace to society or a danger because of his, they were worried about his impact on society, which I just found incredible. That wasn't the kid that I knew.
Are you a monitor?
Marco Gonzalez is principal of Lincoln Elementary School, where the 6-year-old attended kindergarten.
Pay attention, because there seems to be quite a bit of violence at this guy's school.
Yes, sir. Oh, wait, don't. Oh, excuse me. What is going on between the two of you?
He got my brother like this and squares his neck and threw him down.
I've seen other kids who kind of show a little more mean streak in them, a little more apt to react strongly to somebody else. Somebody pushes me, I'm going to turn and hit them.
In fact, I didn't see him hit you, but I saw you hit him. You hit him right in the jaw just now.
But that wasn't his nature as I knew it. He wouldn't necessarily turn around and say, was that an accident? But he wouldn't turn around and slug you just because you might have run into him. I guess I thought of him as a normal kid. Hyperactive, a little bit over-energetic. He liked to draw attention to himself, kind of goofing around, being a little bit of a class clown.
Come on, you guys, quit playing around.
But the boy did have some problems at school. Tests showed that he was mildly retarded and had to repeat kindergarten.
Who here knew that you could repeat kindergarten? I never knew that. I love kindergarten. I would repeat it on purpose.
Room 7. You're the point person. The monitor.
I don't believe a 6-year-old understands the concept of life and death like we as adults know it.
You did? Tell me.
So I don't think that a 6-year-old, and this particular one, understood that what he did could lead to the death of a child. Did he believe he was able to shut the kid up because the kid started crying because the baby bassinet was apparently knocked over, and now there was a tip off that they were in the house that they didn't belong in, looking for a tricycle or a Hot Wheels. Yeah, I could believe that, but that he went in there with an intention to kill a baby. No way. I just don't think it's possible. I don't believe that that's what happened.
In the Iron Triangle, most of the neighbors agreed with Gonzalez.
He was a nice kid, happy, always looking for something to do, always looking for somebody to play with, average,
But there were signs of trouble.
All the kids used to play during the day and stuff, and sometimes when it came to evening time, when all the kids, the doors were closing up and down the block, kids were being called in for dinner, he would kind of left out. But he would just walk on along, probably to the next house or the next block, because I'm quite sure he had more friends than just on this block. But later in the evening, when the kids did go in, he would just continue his journey.
One evening, just days before the beating, the 6-year-old showed up at the Bermuda's apartment.
One day he came to the house. It would have been around 8 or 8:30 at night, with a stick in his hand like this. There were all of us talking in the living room. He knocked on the door, so I opened the door, and he got in like this and went running with the stick in his hand, saying, "The police, and I'm going to kill him." It was a boy playing, of course, right? And I told him, "Boy, go home."
That has to be one of the most strangest stories ever. A 6-year-old come up to my house, banged on the door at 8:30 at night, ran through my house with a stick, screaming, "I'm going to kill him." And I just for crying out loud, just go home. Strangest story ever.
This is a child who is presently in kindergarten, and this is on his second time in kindergarten, and he has had testing that suggested he is a kid that is in need of a lot of help.
this guy is the kid's lawyer.
John Burris, a noted civil rights attorney, offered to represent the 6-year-old pro bono.
What it was like to have a 6-year-old child as a client was the most challenging experience I have ever had, because the hallmark of representation is the ability to communicate with the client, the ability to get some understanding of what the case is, their ability to talk to you about it. And the challenge we had here is that we had a 6-year-old that we couldn't talk to. I never got an account of what happened. Not that I didn't try. I tried. Every session, in some way, was designed to get back to the event. I was on the floor with him. He was in my lap. And I read to him, played toys with him. I did all those things, but not successfully.
What's the truth? I want to know the truth.
The boy's mother was present during some of the questioning.
Look. Stop lying right now. Do you understand that? Stop lying right now. What happened?
Lisa was 26, a single mother, and a part-time child care worker.
Look at me and tell me the truth right now. Did you hear the baby crying?
Court records would report that the boy had been neglected and characterized the mother as a well-intentioned but inadequate parent.
Why did you knock the baby crib over? You did it on purpose, didn't you?
My instincts were that this was a decent lady who was trying to do the best she could with what she had, and that she wasn't a woman who maybe was abusive, was a drug addict, etc., that what happened, but it wasn't a function of this boy not having a mother.
That's crazy, eh? Because he's got to be wrong, because something must have happened. But this guy here deletes the nurture part, and that only leaves nature. So this guy here leaves it to the prosecution to say that it's in this little 6-year-old's nature.
Are you okay?
No, I'm not okay. Are you okay?
The 6-year-old never knew his father, a drug dealer from another part of Richmond. When the boy was 4, his father was murdered on the street, shot 6 times in the head.
And the issue was, how much of that information did the kid know? And the kid did know that his father had died violently, but the kid also fantasized about it. He thought that he was present and that he had seen it. One truth of the matter is he had not seen anything about the father's death. And that was symbolic of this child's state of mind.
And now, in the stocko, we're about to meet one of the stars, and it's the uncle of this little 6-year-old. And what he alerts us to is that he saw that this little chap needed help a long time ago, and shows us all that if you do absolutely nothing, then little guys will end up doing something.
He played violence, you know, the Transformers and the Mutant Ninja Turtles, and hitting with sticks. I used to watch him. He could do this for hours and hours and hours, and I think this was, whatever you want to call that, rage. You know, loved sticks, loved hitting. Not people, not animals, things. He'd pound on this brick until it was, you know, pulp.
Archie Anderson is the boy's great uncle.
He had to get totally exhausted.
But like he was angry, though.
Oh, very angry. Got every reason to be. If he ain't angry, then he ain't paying attention. Yeah, he's very angry. He, my grandnephew should have been seeing a shrink the day he was born.
The boy lived here in this house with his mother and grandmother, a house where crack was plentiful.
You know, you had some situations where my nephew, they'd be over there getting ready to get high, and he'd be in the house, and they'd say, go outside and play. Man, it's 9 o'clock at night. Play with what? 9 p.m. It's a school night. This kid standing outside on the sidewalk, don't know what to do.
The 6-year-old always called Anderson Uncle Skeets. He says the boy's grandmother, his own sister Phyllis, was a crack dealer with a violent temper.
His grandmother Phyllis was off the hook, as they say out here. She'd yell and scream over anything. Ah, violent. No shit. You motherfuckers, well, get out there. You know, No, cut right to the bone arguing with you. You know, no holds back. You know how you don't want to say, you just, you know, none of that. She just sliced you right up.
Uncle Skeets says the boy's mother, Lisa, didn't use drugs, but she brought a series of violent boyfriends into the house.
Well, of course she did. She's a piece of shit.
Instincts were that this was a decent lady who was trying to do the best she could with what she had, and that she wasn't a woman who maybe was abusive, was a drug addict, etc., etc. That what happened, but it wasn't a function of this boy not having a mother.
And Brandon role modeled himself after Lisa's boyfriends, who all split her lip, put her in battered women's homes, you know, choked her, you know, threw glass at Brandon, you know, yelled at him, you know, tied him up. And all this, Lisa didn't either believe was happening or wasn't aware of what was happening until after the man would be out of the scene. I can't tell you how many men that Sam, her brother, touch him again, I'm gonna kill you.
Skeets says that given all the drugs and all the violence, it was inevitable that his nephew would get in some kind of trouble.
Words of wisdom from Uncle Skeets, the guy that did nothing.
The number one rule of the game in Richmond is, ain't no rule. It's the number one rule. There are no rules. I don't have to do anything for y'all. You don't have to trust me. I can lie, cheat, and steal, and that's okay. And that's how it works out here. And that's what my nephew got exposed to from a diaper.
We're learning more and more about what produces violence in children. Typically, there would be the child himself would have witnessed violence. The mother might have been beaten herself, and the child would have seen this, or somebody would have beaten the child, whether it's the mother or the father or a live-in boyfriend who would have beaten the child. And this sets an example for the child. The child models their own behavior on this. See you later. Bye.
Fox Butterfield is a national correspondent for the New York Times. He specializes in the criminal justice system.
Another thing which produces violence in kids, which is somewhat surprising to us, is if a child has a father who's in prison. This too can be a kind of powerful, if perverse, example, and the child starts to fantasize about the father, even the absent father, and wants to emulate him. And we know that now can influence the child. In fact, about half of all kids who are locked up in juvenile reformatories around the country today have fathers or other close relatives who have been previously incarcerated. Criminologists like to talk about risk factors. The more risk factors that you have, the greater the probability of something going wrong in your own life. And this boy seems to have had virtually all of them.
Right now, you are probably thinking, what the fuck? Part A? You didn't say there was 2 parts. What the fuck? It's true, that would be rude of me to do that to you, one of my guys. So that's why there's 2 parts to this, and the second part is already up in an unlisted place, and that unlisted place is a link, and that link is down below in the description, where you can find it in pinned first comment, and you can watch part 2, right? Just for you guys. No, I had to chop it up. It was too long, and I don't want to break the algorithm since we've got one video that's on it at the present time on the outside of it, but it is still on it, so that gives us hope. Anyways, to all ears, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next episode.